My name is Angela Dalton, and I provide support to the maker community of Australia with a variety of special services for their small businesses. One of the key things to preventing overwhelm, first and foremost, is taking breaks. Now, whilst that seems counterintuitive because you think, well, I've only got this many hours, which I've just worked out in my action planner, I don't have time for breaks, I've got to keep doing these things. When you do have that feeling of high stress and that you can feel that everything feels a little bit too big or insurmountable to do, that the best thing to do in that space, in that time, is to have a break. Because you actually can't, you're not working efficiently, you're not actually doing the things that you need to do in the most effective way. So you do need to have a break. Now, what that break looks like is going to be unique to your own needs and your own, what works for you. For me, it's fresh air and walking. It might be meditating. It might be reading. It might be, having just a moment to sit outside and pat the dog while you have a cup of tea. Work out what that looks like to you, what breaks are effective for you to just, have a bit of a screen-free moment, I guess, and take a moment. You need to work out what works for you when it does come to feeling overwhelmed, because it will happen. But you must have a break. When you hit that limit, you have to have a break.
Before you hit that limit even.
Hopefully before. But when you can feel it coming, that means you usually break. Because when we're in the middle of that feeling, it can all feel insurmountable, and the temptation or the instinct is to keep working because there's so much to do. What you actually need to do is pull back and have that moment of taking a bit of a helicopter view, if you like, of all the things that need to be doing, because in those moments the business starts to run you instead of you running the business. So that's the first one. Allocating spaces is another one. So this is where I do this, is what I call it, and managing the expectations of the other people that you live with. Perhaps it's your family. So much like those business departments, which give you that, I guess, delineation between workloads of bookkeeping versus producing products, for example, having areas and physical spaces in your home or your studio where you work and only do that sort of work is really important as a sort of psychological segmentation rather than and a physical one for the business. So, when it's definitely difficult to turn off thinking. Like, thinking about work is probably something you're always going to be doing when you run your own business, just a warning. But it is even harder to sort of step away from work if you're doing it on the family's dining room table while someone's watching TV and someone's cooking or whatever. If you're working, on your laptop in bed late at night, these things don't necessarily give you the right psychological segmentation and physical segmentation that we need to know that when I'm in this space, this is what I do. If you have the opportunity to do so, find a way to create working zones. That's another thing to help prevent overwhelm. Take a step back to review your goals. So when we get cloudy and things do feel like they're too much, it's important to take a moment, maybe it's during that break, to sit down and review the original goals that you set for yourself when you're starting the business. If it isn't working out the way you wanted to, just take a moment to check in. Maybe the goals that you've set for yourself or the goals of the business have changed, or maybe the way that you're operating and the focus that you're giving certain things has meant that you're a little bit further away from the goal than you would like to be. Sit down and review those goals and review the way you work and create a fresh framework to support those original goals that you have actually set for yourself.
Yeah, it's okay if they change. There's no shame in that at all. And that ties into returning to the why. So sometimes when we're feeling overwhelmed, it's helpful to think about or ask yourself, what was the reason that you started your own business? Was it to be in this kind of stressed, overwhelmed state of mind, or was it more for you to be able to make sure you had free time and flexibility to be with your family and do the things you love? So, if you're not feeling it, if you don't feel like you're moving towards those original reasons that you set out on for your business, then it's time to review. And in some cases, that's because the business grows too rapidly, which is, for some might say, oh, that's amazing. That's all we ever wanted was too many sales to take care of. But for some, and especially with mentees that we work with, that's not why they started the business. It wasn't so they could be manufacturing for all hours of every day. So remind yourself why it is that you're in business. And of course, there's also going to be pros and cons of running your own business. For example, on that freedom or the flexibility, being able to put your tools down and go for a walk when it's sunny, or when someone has invited you during a normal kind of work week. That's a definite pro, but you might have to then say no to your best friend's birthday party because it's on the same night as one of the big markets that you're participating in. So obviously that can be a con. It's not always awesome and it's not always terrible. There's this sort of scale to running your own business, much like life. You'll have moments of success where you can celebrate, and we encourage you to do that as much as you can. But there are going to be times that are hard and that will be a struggle. And unfortunately, that has been the case for a lot of makers in business over the past few years. So accepting that businesses will have this ebb and flow and not take it as a personal failure is really important to keep in mind. Further to that, I guess Angela has kind of touched on this with taking breaks, but knowing when you need to rest. So sometimes we do actually need a proper break because owning your own business, whether you wanted it to be or not, is a 24/7 thing. You do, like Angela said, it's hard to switch off thinking about it. What happens when you get a comment that didn't really, go the right way on social media and you've read it just before bed? Or those are the sorts of things that can really kind of trigger us if we're not feeling 100%. So this is where taking that proper rest can be important, because you do need that space to recover, to be able to have ideas in the future. I know it's not always easy, and some of us think, oh, but if I take a break or if I have a week off Instagram, everything's going to disappear, or I'll lose all my customers. And I can assure you, based on years and years of experience working in this industry, that if you have a break for a week, it's going to be okay. It will be okay. So yeah, as we've said, having a break is absolutely essential. And this is again where that kind of year planning really comes into to help you here. So if you know that you need to have 2 weeks block leave every year, then plan that at the start of your year so that you remember to have those boundaries and say no to things that might pop up within that 2-week break. So make sure you find what works best for you so that you can refresh yourself and make sure you schedule it in.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the new content we post, all for the makers of Australia.